And then the toolkit itself has a lot of functions not active that are possible to activate with mods, and Moonglasses is one of those mods. So this is the toolkit with Moonglasses, and what that unlocks is actually terrain building, dialogues, and a ton of other stuff. So we are just gonna let it roll and create a new project. It can take a little bit of time. And then I'm kind of wondering if there is anything in particular you guys would be interested in seeing. Feel free to write in the chat. I can check it occasionally. But what some people have been asking for is just an explanation of the different buttons and stuff. And then I thought we could spend maybe an hour or so, and I will go through the most like basic functions. Yeah, you have to, like from chat, if you have to download Moonglasses, yes. So you have to install the toolkit first on Steam. And then you also have to download some data for the toolkit, which is also on Steam. And I would recommend to check that the toolkit works. And then you download Moonglasses. And Moonglasses is now released on Nexus. So you can just download it from there. So Moonglasses is actually just a selection of files that you have to unblock and then put into the toolkit directory. And then a ton of functions will be unlocked. So yeah, let's not go into why why these functions may be blocked in the first place. But point is that it wasn't that challenging for modders to unlock these functions, I think. I mean, I wouldn't know how to do it, but I'm glad they did, because then you can basically make a game like Baldur's Gate 3. So what can happen is sometimes this software will crash, which is not ideal for a stream. So this looks more like it. So let's see if this Stream 1 project we made was actually generated. I think it's quite typical when you're streaming something for everything to go wrong at the same time. So let's see how we do with this. So we are now trying to open the project we made. And what should happen now is we will get a menu to make levels. And one part of this is me not having the most advanced computer technology. But hey, feel free to make a conversation. I'm speaking into the void.
Just be careful that the void doesn't speak into you.
Oh, yeah. That has been going on for some time. All right, so here we go then. Right, so it worked. So that's the first learning point. Even if the program looked like it was crashing, it actually made the project. So we're going to make a new level. And when you go into make a new level, you see some different options. Helpfully, there's something called a basic level. And once you've made levels, you can actually also copy them in case, like say that you make a house or something and you want to use the same house in a different level, then you can just copy it and make a new level. So we will go with basic level A. And let's call it, very excitingly, level 1. We create it. Bit more loading and we are getting started. And you can already see a lot of strange windows. We will try to organize them a little bit, and I will explain everything in approximately 20 seconds. All right, so here we are. Now I'm just clicking here, and we can see that we have a level. And what we can also see is that we have a player character. For the occasion, it seems to be Astarion. So if you haven't like put in character creation and stuff, the toolkit will just pick an origin character for you to play as, and that will be random every time. And let's look at these windows. So we always get the preview window, and as you can see, when I clicked on this guy, you get the what do you call it? The model. And we can, for now, just keep this over here. These windows that are popping up are, first of all, a message log. And you see, I don't know if you can read the text, but there are a lot of messages in red here that are different errors. And usually you don't have to worry about them. Occasionally, there will be some good information in here if your stuff isn't working. But we haven't made anything yet, so we don't have to worry about that. In this window, in the level, the first thing you should know is that you can switch to the game. So you can play test what you're doing as you're doing it. So let me just try that now.
Don't linger.
So you got some sound there. We can run over to this little helpful building template. Or, you know, it's tiresome to run. So if I just focus on that point and I click Control T, teleport, so we are here. So you can move wherever you like. So this is the world we'll be working in, and then I think I can explain some of these windows. So over here, you have several different things. When you first start the toolkit with Moonglasses, they might show up like in different places on the screen because this might be my setup. But first of all, you have this thing called root templates. So the root templates are all the files in the base game. So for example, you can see that you have characters, you have items, you have scenery, you have triggers, different types of lighting, and a ton of different stuff. Interesting for you guys, probably the tile construction, which we will be doing, and some other slightly more complicated things. And if you guys want me to like explain anything in particular that I'm just like skipping over, just write it in the chat and maybe Nef can alert me. So say that we want to add another character. If I right click here, I get all the characters. So maybe someone suggests a character to put in here. The stranger, the better.
Nettie?
I got Volbrun first.
Sure.
Okay, Volbrun beheaded, maybe? Or Volbrun. Zombie Volbrun. So you see that you have all of these different characters that show up in the game, and a lot of surprising things as well. Let's put in Volbrun with a head. You can just plop in there. So what I did just now was put a copy of Volbrun from the base game into my level. And I might not want to do that, so especially when you're starting out, it could be good to make a copy of Volbrun. So I'll just do Control-Z to remove him. And I will select Volbrun. And I will create new from selected. So what then happens is that you get a window where you can select the mod you're currently in. So the base game is also what's considered a mod here. So you see you have a lot of different folders and like dice sets and stuff. And then you have a project here called Stream 1. So that's us. This is our mod. So I'll select that. And I will just change the name to, for example, Volbrun Test. Create him. Now this copy of Volbrun will now be in our mod. So if I put him here, whatever I do with him, it will not affect the base game, which can be handy. So because these files in the root templates, all of this stuff is in the base game. So if you start changing this stuff, it can affect your game. I had Astarion sitting down in my base game for months because I had changed the setting and I couldn't figure out what it was, but I fixed it eventually. So these things are the items in the game. This tab is the resource manager that says something about the different resources you have in the game and your project. Not very relevant for now. Instance panel, I don't know what that is. Work atmosphere panel is the different types of lighting, and we can get into that later. The AI grid, I will remove Wolbrun. The AI grid is, well, scary. The AI grid is something you need when you're building stuff. So I think the first thing we'll get into shortly is building stuff. And then you have a sidebar that gives you all the information about the different stuff in the game. So for example, right now we had Wolbrun selected. And then you see everything Wolbrun, basically. So you can see his name. We can change his name. For example, we can call him Dickwad. And we can set him to have a specific dialogue, for example. Maybe Jahera recruitment. Let's try that. So the point is, like, all the stuff in the base game is available. So if we set Jahera recruitment to Wolbrun, let's try to talk to him.
Just be quick.
Yeah. So the sound isn't playing, but you see that he is now saying what Jahera is saying in the game. So yeah. If you change your mind and you don't want Wolbrun to be Jahera, you can just clear this thing. The sidebar is very important, and it has a lot of functions that you will need if you are modding. But I understand it's a bit complicated to start with. Let's see, the preview we had already seen. That's when you click different things and you can see previews of it. The World Outliner tab is basically everything in your level. So right now we have the start of a building. We have some lighting triggers that we can change. We have some terrain, so the ground is here. And we have a few triggers. And these triggers are basically just 4 start points for a team of 4 companions, right? And then we have a guy called Dickwad, which may or may not be Wolbrun Bongle. Interaction mode, I can't say I've ever clicked that. And then you have the terrain panel. So I'm thinking that, well, what do you guys think? Should I try to build something, or should I explain all its stuff at the top? I will record this and put out an edited version without all the pauses later. But yeah, so let's have a look at the top. We already did this thing. So here you can switch to the game. Here you can change the cameras, and of course there is a save, there is a load level, there is a thing I have never clicked. But yeah, you can hide the different types of characters and items and whatever. And then let's see. That would be the root templates that we saw earlier, the resources, a search tool, a terrain panel, the AI grid, and this one, very nice for working with the terrain. Some stuff about factions, the lighting again. For combat, also edit the Anubis scripts. The Anubis scripts control what the characters are doing out in the world. So this toolkit actually has 2 different script editors. It has an Anubis editor for just that. And then most of the scripts are controlled by the story editor. You can work with a lot of different effects, tags and flags. Some of you might be familiar with flags from like reading about Baldur's Gate 3 or like if a flag is set then something happens, and that's pretty much how this programming language works a lot of the time, especially in dialogue. Voice sparks, I have not really worked with this, but this is a little bit funny that this controls when your companions and stuff are speaking when you're out in the world. interesting way of setting it up. I have not played around with this. And then we have a dialog editor, and we have a journal editor, stats editor, and an object editor. So the stats editor is not something I will go into today, but I will just show you that basically you will find the stats for everything in the game, like items and spells and equipment. So say I went into Gustav, which is sort of the code name for Baldur's Gate 3, and you can look at the equipment, and here I can see first in the list is Lae'zel's equipment, and you can see all the items that she will start out with. So of course in your mod you can make new equipment sets or give items new stats, and it basically works like Excel. So you can just copy this line and like make a new one in your mod and start playing around with it. And then almost done with explaining the top here, you have an icon for characters. So right now we just have Wolbrun. You have the scenery, items, light probes, something called decals, which is basically just stickers. So easier than scenery, but can like change the environment quite a bit. You have splines. Splines can control movement. Tile construction, and this one, quite important, this is the trigger one. So for example, if you want to see the start point, and we started quite a ways away, right? Even further than that. Yeah, so that's where we started, isn't it? And then if we find it annoying to start that far away from our building, we can just move the start points. So hopefully it was start point 0, and I guess we will see when we try it out again. So let's go back and let's do some work on this building. So I'm just going to check the chat. Yeah, and do feel free to ask questions, and I have Neff following the chat in case I miss something.
I am following the chat.
You are following the chat.
I'm following it closely.
Yes. Okay, so buildings. I don't know how many of you have had some fun with this yet, but you select, the easiest way is to select this little template. It's just a wall, but we can change it. So if you go to edit construction tiles, we can select these tiles. We can, for example, right click and create a window. A window has been created. And we can build constructions. So look at this. I clicked this W, and we can keep creating this wall. You can also just drag it. And then if you want it to go in a different direction, you can just click, click, click. So we are building a fortress, right? And my project takes place in a very little room, so I'm trying to not make that same mistake because it's a bit hard to show you guys if this room gets too small. But okay, so we have some walls. Maybe we want some more windows. Maybe we want a door, right? I clicked window, so let's create a door. Yeah, a nice doorway. And you can, of course, change out these tiles, but for now, let's just use what's here. We can add a floor. So you see it's blinking, so it's probably a little bit under the terrain. So what we can do then is go to the side here. We can move the floor up. So, the floor is here. It doesn't look very medieval, so we might want to set the floor to something, right? So I went back into the sidebar, and I am now looking at the stats for the floor, I hope. Let's see. Yep. So we can just search here for all the different types of floor. Hard to think of a type of floor, but maybe dungeon. Oi. um, so you see there are a lot of different types of stuff you can make. Maybe floor is a better idea. A wooden floor, maybe. Yeah, this looks a bit more suitable, doesn't it? All right, so we have a floor. Maybe we want a bit of a roof. So, so as you can see, this roof was now auto-generated on top of our walls, and we can move it. We just want a little like sunroof, right? I'm now moving the floor. Okay. Something like that, maybe. And it's the same procedure as last time. So let's add a roof. Yeah, that'll do for now. You can move it up, and you can do very sophisticated things here. There is another modder who...
Hello, I have a question.
Yes,
Sorry.
hi.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Hi. So if you want to like move the characters now,
Yeah.
like you have to go back to story editor?
No.
Or
if you just want to move them, you just click them. And yeah. Of course, the main character, you have to move them. But I can move Volbrun. And then if I want to move myself, so I am currently a Starion, I can just select a point at the place on the map, and you press Ctrl T, and I have moved. Do you see?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome. Feel free to ask more questions. I'm kind of just speaking into my screen here. So okay. So we have made some sort of building, and you can see that this roof is not entirely aligned, so you can actually just move it. It's not a very pretty roof, and you can use different templates to make proper roofs, of course. There is also an interesting thing when it comes to buildings, where there is something called prefabs. So let's see if I can find them. I guess the prefabs were maybe in the resource manager. So as you can tell, I haven't spent a lot of time actually building buildings. Oh. Yeah, maybe the big P would be the prefabs. So the prefabs are actually constructions that you can't really edit, but they are constructions. So let's see if we just...
Some
Yeah.
has a question.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you can hear them.
I couldn't hear anything.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I've got one question regarding prefabs.
Yes.
When maybe you will cover it, but when creating a prefab of your own, what type must you make it? Why I've made prefabs before, but when you like select it in your root template and you drag it to place it, there's nothing. It doesn't place anything.
Okay, so
Just a side question.
yeah, definitely. I wish I could answer you properly. I have not done that, but I have noticed that the number of the prefabs in the root templates what you describe happens. So I don't know if you're in the, are you in the Moonglasses Discord? Because there are a lot of people there who are really good with this stuff.
Yes, I am. I will just ask around there.
Yeah, you should. I think those guys can help you. I've spent most of my time really getting into scripting and dialogue. So making stuff and putting it into the toolkit, I'm not very familiar with. So this is
Okay, thank you.
I'm too beginner level for that.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Chat
Yes.
chat is saying that prefabs are not non-functional.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but they if I like copy one here, I'm making a new one, making a copy of it, and I am pulling it into the level. So yeah, so well, what you described just happened, didn't it? So this one didn't show up. Yeah. So some of the prefabs seem to not be working. But some of them, yeah. Some of them definitely do, right? So this one, for example. So we can just put this in here. Yep. Oh, then Madam Albert, what do you mean that they are non-functional? Because I knew that you couldn't like change them or like. Non-functional as in it doesn't work. Oh yeah, okay, I see. Yeah. I don't think I have anything like good or smart to say about that.
Huh?
Huh?
Have I got a towel? Yeah, I've got one.
I don't know, man. But as you can see, I am then in this prefab, I'm able to remove different bits of it, right? So this could be useful if you just want some creepy trees and like want to be able to move stuff around. Okay, so I'm thinking that I will show you now. I'm just walking around in the level, and most likely Astarion is able to walk straight through the door. So this is a little teaching point about the AI grid, because right now we have plopped down a lot of building tiles and stuff, and we need to regenerate the AI grid. So I went into the AI grid tab, and you can actually just do a full generate. And this will make the walls permanent, so to speak, so you can't walk through them. So let's see if that works. There, it should be done. So let's see now. Can I walk straight through this wall? No, he's working around, right? Yeah. He's going to have to enter through the door. Yeah, and we can jump through the window, but not through the wall. Yeah, some terrain work. Cool. That is a good idea. So, some very simple terrain work. Drives me nuts when the characters keep running, so I'm just gonna let him stop. Terrain work. So you want to go into this, let's see. So the terrain panel on the side here, you can see what the terrain is made out of. And then there is something called the mesh painter. That will give you more options. And to actually change the terrain, you now have some different options here. The terrain panel. So The first time you see this, it's pretty cool, and then you get addicted. So I'm just pressing. So this is some sort of visual ASMR, right? You can raise the terrain as much as you like. And that doesn't look very realistic, so you can, of course, flatten it. So that was the little flattening icon. And you can basically keep going forever if you like. And you can smooth it. Smoothing around the edges.
The chat is loving it. The chat is loving it. Continue.
Yeah.
Continue typing. The
What's
chat is
going on?
mesmerized. The chat is
Mesmerizing.
mesmerized.
Yeah. I'm just checking the chat. Yes. Yes. And well, you want to go up here, right? So I'm clicking now this one, the slope. Let's make a slope, guys. Yeah. Haha. Okay, so let's see what happens now, because yep, it's just loading a little bit. So I'm guessing this guy wants to go up, right? What happens? Whoop. He is in the terrain. So what do we have to do? That's a Socratic question. We need to regenerate the AI grid. So let's do that. This is one of the few things, the AI grid, it says it's going to take a while, but compared to a couple of the other things like making new levels and stuff, it really doesn't take a while. I said, and that it might crash, so we'll see. Yeah, did it actually do it? Let's try to walk up the slope. Yeah, we're going up the slope. So here we are. Okay, so this is basically Astarion's world now, so that is a bit of terrain, so why don't we populate the terrain with something nice, like, I don't know, I don't think the character likes trees, but some evil trees maybe, right? Okay, so I went into root templates. I right-clicked the scenery button, and so scenery is just that, it's not items, so you can't make these evil trees like talk, but we are putting them there. And we can also see if there are any items that are trees. So then I right-clicked items. And this is when it's nice to have the preview window, not that big, but whoop, no rotating. Yeah, I just want to have the what did I just do? Yeah, I just want to have the preview window separate so that we can look at the things we are going through here, right? Yeah, so a small dead tree, right? So we have put in an item that is a small dead tree. Let's compare these. So if I click on this one, it is some cinematic scenery. And it has information in the sidebar, but nothing compared to this item tree. And I wanted to show you that if it's an item, you can do different things. Yeah, so the, the tree in itself cannot automatically have a dialogue. Wolbrun probably can, so maybe we can get him up here later. But an item can have a status. So you see, I just wrote up here in the search bar to easily find it. And then I'm thinking that we can add a default status to the tree. Like for example, I will take suggestions, but maybe we can make it glow. Maybe, like this maybe. So sometimes you have to then reload the level to see the effect, but yeah, no, so it's now has this glow effect around it. And that's a permanent status, so it will just keep glowing. I will now take Wolbrun, I will lift him up into the sky, and I will hopefully get him a little closer. So let's see what happens if I just drop him. Let's play. He's not dead yet. But and he's healing himself, so as you can see, that's fine. Great. So let's make a little conversation. To make a conversation, we have to go into the dialogue editor. That's the little speech bubble up here. And dialogues are structured in a particular way. A dialogue will always start with the greeting node. So I right-clicked and I added the node. And they will always start with the greeting node, and that will be either the narrator or another character speaking. And if Wolbrun is saying one more thing, that will be an answer. And if you are saying something, whenever you are saying something, that is actually a question. And this is a little bit hard to wrap your head around when you're starting out. But let's make a little dialogue where Wolbrun is saying something, and he's saying something more. You get to ask a question, or maybe 2 questions. And then for each of those, he will have a reply. Okay. And for a dialogue to end, you have to set end nodes. So I'm thinking that both of his answers will be the end of that conversation. So then you have to familiarize yourself a little bit with these settings over here. There are a lot of them, but you don't need to use many of them to make a decent conversation. You just need to realize that you have to set the last one to an end node. So this one too. So it's quite helpfully color-coded and actually very powerful. So just for a basic one, now we have the structure of our little conversation. I'll just make it a little bit bigger. And we have to assign the speakers. So no dialogue will work unless you assign the speakers. And that is something you find down here. We go into edit. We will add speakers. So we will always add the NPC first. That will be Wolbrun test. The guy we call Dickwad, so it's this one. So I set him to active. And we will also add the players. That would be you. You're the player. So that is group players. Unless you are someone in particular. So if you are the Dark Urge, you can set it to just be the Dark Urge. But in general, whoever you are, if you're the player, you are the group of players. So we have now set that. And what you can see happens is that the nodes that are assigned to Wolbrun says Wolbrun. And the questions say group players. So what will he say? I am open for suggestions. Why are you talking to me? I am... Actually, there are no quotes in BG3, so I am a very annoying gnome. And then we can reply to him. I just wanted to insult you. Or does it look like I'm talking to you? And yeah, for this one, let's make it more interesting. The question, we can change it into a role. So if you right-click the node and you convert it into an active role, Ta-da! We will remove this one and we will add some outcomes. So then we can add roll result. So you get the roll check success, and you can add the roll result and you get the fail, and then we can add some answers based on that. So depending on the outcome of our roll, Volbrun will answer different things, and we can just say, if you succeed on the roll, he'll reply no. Why would you want to talk to me? And if you fail, he will reply, yes, moron. And then I will add, now I'm done talking to you. And I can connect both of these to the same one. So the end node will be the same. For this to work, we have to go into our role, which is now set to ability strength, and the ability can be whatever you want it to be, but you can change it. So when you go into the role parameters, you can change it to, for example, charisma, and you can set the difficulty class to, yeah, maybe very easy. And he's saying nothing here, so give it your best shot. All right, so we have a dialogue. We should probably save it. And it will be saved in story/dialogues, and it's currently called Volbrun Bungle Dickwad, but we can call it level 1 Volbrun Convo. Okay, so we have the dialogue file. Usually there will be some errors that pop up when you save. You can usually disregard them. But we also need to have a timeline for the dialogue to work. So what is a timeline? Is what Baldur's Gate 3 uses to have cinematics. I think that if we keep this stream going for like half an hour, I can show you how to just like generate a very simple timeline. And I can also show you how to do it in a bit more flashy and Bigotry-esque way. So let's first just generate a default timeline. So what you do is you go to Tools, Timeline, and Generate Full Copper. It will ask you where to save it, and we will save it in Stream 1. That's the name of our project, right? And now it's being generated. So welcome, the timeline generation wizard. Next. So in by default, there are only a few files here that will let you make a timeline. So we will use a default one, and it's not very sophisticated. But one thing you could spend a moment considering is that this generator will auto-generate different camera shots. So if we want a lot of the shots to be close to the speakers, then we could change this parameter. So half of the shots will now be close-ups, and then some of them will be shoulder shots, and some of them will be a little further away. Here are also like a ton of different settings, mocap settings, emotion settings. Not all of these functions work, and of course, I don't think there are any modders, well, maybe a few, who are working on like adding mocap, but for now we don't have that. So you can just click next, finish. Now on the side here, the timeline editor has shown up. We can just minimize that one. And if we want to talk to Volbrun, the easiest way to make him be part of this conversation and to like have it assigned is to go into the sidebar over here. And then we will give him a default dialogue. So what did we call the dialogue? We called it Volbrun something. So this is a good illustration of why you should probably make like good file names for your files. I keep making the same mistake of naming things in a way that I can't find them. But now I looked for level 1 Volbran convo. That's probably it, right? So if things are going the way they usually go, now I should be able to just play and talk to Volbran. So let's see what happens. Yeah, so he asks, why are you talking to me? He says he's a very annoying gnome. And you can say, I just wanted to insult you. Or does it look like I'm talking to you and have a role? So let's try option 1. He is asking us to give it our best shot. And then the conversation ends. So that was path 1. Path 2, why are you talking to me? Let's roll some die. Okay, difficulty class 5. Maybe we can do it. There you go. No, why would you want to talk to me? Okay. And he's done talking to us. So we made this conversation. And we can spend a moment looking at the timeline. And of course, chat, let me know if you want to change topics or if this is boring. I'm just doing the stuff I like. And so this is the timeline panel. In here, you will get all of Volbran's lines. And you can expand this one and you see the 2 speakers with whatever you have named them. And you get a peanut gallery. So the peanuts are actually placeholders for your companions, if you want to have 4 companions. Or more, you can just add more. And then lights. So what we are missing here are cameras. And as you can see when we talked to Volbran, we didn't get that typical like BG3 feel, did we? So in order to make proper timelines, you want to have some timeline files. And I understand that this might be a bit complicated for a beginner, but I can just show you how I would do that. So if we go back into the dialog, we can regenerate this timeline. It will ask you if you are willing to overwrite your timeline. So we go back into this thing where we set up the timeline. And I will just see if I have put custom file. So you can add custom timeline templates. Yes, yeah, I'm checking the chat. Thanks, Kay. I'm glad I captured his personality. Right, so you can add the custom timeline template. These can be extracted from the base game with the multi-tool. So what I have done is use the BG3 multi-tool to extract base game timeline templates. And then I have actually put one of them in here. Yeah, so a timeline is, I think it will become very clear once I show you the cameras and stuff, but timeline is basically the cinematics. The timeline is what controls the cinematics. So for example, characters like, yes, in a conversation, so like when characters are smiling, yeah. At least that's the easiest definition of a timeline. You can also have timelines for other stuff, but usually it's conversations. So what I have done is take one of the timeline scenes from the base game, from a Dark Urge scene, and I've put it into this default folder. And I will just add it. So you see now I have put in a custom timeline. And let's just see what happens if I use that one. What should happen to the timeline panel is that we should be getting more cameras. So we have gotten 2 cameras. Okay, so let's just see now what happens if we talk to Volbran. So this looks very different, right? Trying to roll again. Okay, so this timeline is currently all Volbrun all the time, and we don't want that, of course. So let us then change the timeline. We have our speakers, we can expand those. And we have our cameras. So let's get the timeline preview panel to open. There it is. So now it's getting a bit confusing, right? Because you have all of these windows open, and I'll just show you how I prefer to work, and then you can figure out how you want to do it yourself. Like so. So you have Volbrun standing in the blinding the blinding sunlight. All right, there he is. And so if the lighting is a bit too insane for you, you can go here and just go with base color. You get this scary basic Volbrun. And so let's have a look at the cameras. So as you can see, when Volbrun is saying, "Why are you talking to me? I'm a very annoying gnome," there is a camera engaged too, actually. Cameras cam subject 1 MCU and cam subject 1 CU, and these are the same cameras as you see down here. So cam subject 1 MCU looks like this, and I engage the other one 1CU. Currently it's looking at someone's feet. If we play the timeline, it should play here, so hopefully it's then focusing on Volbrun. Yeah, there you go, so nice close-up of him. So I'm thinking that we take this camera and we change it to focus on something else. So you can do that by going to track. You can add a look at, and we want it to always, like from the very start, look at something else. For example, the player. And so this is the player. And you can see it's not Astarion at the moment, but to represent the player, like a lot of like random NPCs are selected. I added a transform because I want to move this camera. So I'm adding all of these little things. And the most important things would be the position of the camera in the X, Y, Z axis, which is a little bit difficult to wrap your head around the first couple of times, and then the rotation of the camera. So you can see there are already a lot of values here. I think I will just change the rotation to 0, so the camera isn't like rotated. So now it's looking at one of the peanut characters. The y-axis is how far up or down the camera is. If you like think about mathematics, then the y-axis is the one that goes up, right? Let's set it to 1.7. And then let's go to rotation. You can right-click this one, and then the y-axis, to rotate the y-axis, you're turning the camera around. And now I think we are looking at the player. Not ideal positioning. Maybe try to zoom it out a little bit. Always hard to remember which direction is the right one here. So maybe we messed it up a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, so -2 maybe. -3. We can rotate the camera a little bit. If we go down now, I think Volbrun should be down there somewhere. So if you are getting confused and you want to see where the characters are, you can actually like scroll out here. Aha, so okay, so we are nude, don't mind that, but we are looking at Volbrun and he is down there. Okay, let's engage the camera again. Yeah, so it's very easy to just go completely wild here and completely out of focus. So I think someone listening right now have beta tested my mod, and perhaps you can understand why some of the camera angles were a bit wonky. But yeah, so here we are. This is us. This represents Astarion. So for the first shot, the camera will look at Volbron, this guy. And then when we move to the second line, it will be looking at us. So let's add some emotions to this one. For example, Volbron. You can add things here. So for emotion, maybe we want him to look smug. Maybe we want to change his attitude. That would be the position people like he would be standing in. Maybe he wants to cross his arms. Or look, well, it doesn't exactly look alarmed, clenched maybe, cold. Yes, crossing his arms is fine. Okay. And if we want to look at us again, I'm just going to engage the camera that's looking at the player. Let us look a little bit angry. Yeah. And we can change our attitude to I mean, I'm having too much fun just like playing around with this, but yeah, something like this maybe. And then let's do one more thing. Let's add an animation to Volbron here. So if you want to add an animation, you can go here to track and you can add an animation to his body, for example. I'll just save. And the animation should be, so I just engage the camera for Volbron, and the animation can be maybe he prepares to run, maybe? Yeah. So just as an example, like he is pretending to run now. We can change the speed to be a bit slower, and we can make sure that it's not continuous. If it's continuous, it will keep repeating. If you say none, it will only play once. Let's have a look at the other lines. And just at the very last one, he's done talking to us. Let's add angry face. And let's make him properly angry at the end. Like that. Okay? So let's save this, and that will be a little illustration on how to use timelines. Just making the screen a little bit bigger, and we can just talk to Volbron. So he's smug now. And our brains are hurting talking to him. Just wanted to insult him. Yeah, okay, so it's the roll that ends in that other one. We are rolling. And then something very interesting happened with the camera, but we can see the sun at least, which is nice. So he's done talking to us. So yes, that's a little illustration of how the timeline would work. Now I have like another half hour if people are still interested. Aha, yeah. Yes, you can control what they look at. They don't always look at the speaker. I'll show you. So let's look at Scary Volbron here. He is currently looking at the speaker with a very open mouth. And so you can add a look at event. So by default, it will be none. So now Volbron is looking down. So let's go to the first line so we know it will trigger. And he will be looking, let's see, yeah, it's the right one. This one, he's looking at the player, but we can change it. So we can just clear it if we want him to look down. And then we want him to look up at the player. We can just play a little while, place this here, and then he can look at the player again. And yeah, so anything that's in the timeline they can look at. Let's see how it plays out. Just save. Yeah, so he lifted his head very quickly there, but there are a ton of little things you can tweak to change that. Yeah, you end up spending a lot of time in the timeline editor. I can do a quick explanation of the story editor, if you'd like. Okay, so most of the scripts in the game are controlled by the story editor, and it's up here. So I'm just gonna close the timeline stuff. That was not what I tried to do, like that. Story editor is here. So I have made a video on my YouTube channel that explains a few things you have to do to make if you're making a story mode that's outside of the main game, there is a few things you have to do in the story editor in order to have it play in the base game. Maybe I'll show you that, and I'll just explain first. So the story editor contains all the scripts in the base game. So this stuff is basically Baldur's Gate 3. You can open all of it. This is, for example, something to do with the Maragon masks. You can expand, of course. There are a lot of scripts. You can change all of these, and then you will affect the base game. So I recommend not doing that. But if you make your own scripts, they will show up with a special color. So I don't think I have time to explain all that I went over in the video where I show what to do to be able to load your mod into the base game and start character creation and have it like as a separate story. But I will show you how to make a script. So if you just click new, you should ensure that your script is placed in your project. And for us, it is stream 1. And we can call it script 1. So this is script 1, and as you can see, it shows up in orange. So if it shows up in orange, it means it's in your project. Personally, I had done absolutely zero scripting pretty much before I started with modding, so I understand that this is confusing. But there are 3 different windows here. It's what you do to initialize, it's what you like actually, I don't know what KB stands for, maybe a programmer could tell me that, but that's the sort of meat and bones of the script, and then it's what you do on exit. And actually for most of the scripts, you basically just have to worry about the KB section. Sometimes you might want to create a database of stuff up here, but for the KB section, that's kind of where the magic happens, so to speak. The conversation with Volbrun again. Oh yeah, we already have it open, so let's not do it twice. The conversation with Volbrun. So if Volbrun says he's done talking to us, let's set a flag. So I went into the sidebar here with the flags to set. There were a ton of different types of flags. I set a global flag. Let's call it Volbrun done talking. You need a description for it. Volbrun is done talking. We add it. And sometimes it takes a moment, which means I can check the chat. And as for your questions about in practice, level loaded equals gameplay starts, yeah. In practice, when you're playing, I think you're right. And I actually don't know why sometimes the first time you create a flag, it will take a very long time. And then later it's very, very simple. Yeah, and V there makes a good point because if you set a lot of things to level loaded, if it's too many things at once, they might not trigger. Then you might want to tie them to a timer, so then certain amount of seconds after the level is loaded, then something will happen. I think if you're not doing a lot of different stuff at once, then it's not a problem. But I can't guarantee that, but at least in my experience, that's the case. You're welcome. I think this is a cursed stream, actually. Because it's not supposed to take this long. So sometimes you'll get a crash, and then when you load things back up again, everything was actually all right. No, I mean, I think it's impossible to do a stream without issues. I think most of the streamers I've watched spend like 40 minutes getting started, and then they get very few things done. See, oh yeah, yep. So it's registered, so the flag is okay. So the last thing I will show you today is how to use a flag in conversation. You can also use it for scripting. Thankfully, I have made a number of videos where I show some scripting, and it actually works. So we set the flag here, and he's done talking to us, right? So let's add a new greeting. And it's going to say, I said I was done, moron. Idiot. That will be the end node. That's the only thing he'll say. So now we have two conversations in one. We have two greeting nodes, and for that to work, we have to make sure that they have different conditions. So the first greeting node, the first time we talk to him, will actually check for the Wolbrun flag. Done talking, right? It will check for that one. It will not be set. If he's actually done talking to us in conversation 2, we will check the same flag. Done talking. And that will be active. So let's save and then see what happens. So let's talk to the guy. Actually, let's just talk to him. I'm not quite sure if... Yeah, so you see I can't talk to him. And so we need to reload. Don't worry, it will not take 500 hours. And it's true, I could have failed the DC5 roll. I find that when I'm playtesting my own stuff, I always fail the rolls. And for that, you can actually like enable God mode and things like that, so you will always always succeed on your rolls and stuff. But I think that's for a different time. There is a really nice guide to that stuff on the Larian actually like mod.io page with like instructions on how to mod. So here we are, the last thing we're doing today. Let's talk to Wolbrun Bungle. I regret everything I've done. He's asking why we're talking to him. Does it look like I'm talking to you? I still succeeded on the roll. He's done talking to us, so let's try talking to him again. Aha, it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? We didn't actually regenerate the timeline. So let us do that. Into the timeline. Let's see. We need to open this one up again. Wolbrun Convo, we have added new stuff, right? So we need to refresh the timeline. And then you just click refresh and you go through all the things again. It will warn you if you're overwriting something. These windows pop back up, but we can now try to talk to him. And he said he was done. Idiot. Right, so the flag works. So you can use these flags in pretty sophisticated ways to tie them into scripts and stuff. But I think for a little introduction, this is it. Apologize for the failed scripts, but thankfully there are many people who are better at scripting than me. So I hope this was useful for you guys. I highly recommend getting the... Yeah, I didn't know how to open the thing. Yeah, I really recommend getting the toolkit, even if you just want to chill out and build terrains. Maybe one last thing very, very quickly. Because this glaring sunlight is quite annoying, so let's just go into... I went to the triggers again. And then you can select atmosphere and lighting. Go to the sidebar for that trigger, remove the sus I have written for some reason, and then you can go into this trigger type atmosphere and you see a ton of different things are set. But we can go, for example, Cassador's Chapel maybe? Right, very bright. That's because the lighting isn't changed. So let's go for doing the same thing with the lighting trigger. And then add the same one, so Cassador's Chapel. Aha! It is very dark and terrible. We talk to Volbrun like this, things look very different. So that's the easiest way to change the lighting and stuff. I mean, I prefer this dark look, but not surprising maybe. Yeah. So maybe that's a nice place to end it. Yeah, I mean, that's something I made and I'm working on the continuation, and it's mostly dialogue based, but that project is a remake of a text-based game, so I'm kind of blessed to have some really good writing to work from. Other than that, thank you for joining me. I'd love some messages if you guys have time. When it comes to other things that I could plan to cover. This was sort of just a test to see if this actually works. So it did work, and I did make some recordings, and I think I will edit them and make a sort of more concise video. Perhaps without getting into scripting, but yeah, you're welcome. So I think I'm gonna log off now, but feel free to keep chatting if you like. But yeah, thanks for watching.